Cimenti.
Cimenti. Yes, thank you. Perfect. Claudia, Cimenti is my honored guest today here, and I believe that you are broadcasting from Luxembourg, right?
Yes, yes. It's my father who originally came from Italy to Luxembourg in the 60s. My mother was from Luxembourg, and I grew up here. Thank you.
I would like to say that I have had the I did little bit task that I compiled some brief introduction about you under this video, about your professional background. But if you would say it with your own words, what would you say? What do you do, Claudia, for living?
I work with professionals, entrepreneurs, and corporate leaders, as well as their teams. And essentially, I try to help them really get to the root of their problems so that then they can take, with this newfound clarity, a step back and custom craft solutions that will help them to thrive.
Mhm, mhm. And I have attended many of your interactive workshops or networking sessions. They were very interesting about many things, leadership, employment, and other issues. So I really recommend it. Are you still doing those still? Or
Yes, I am. I am. I really, really enjoy doing discussion type podcasts where we start maybe with a particular focus on a topic, but we allow the conversation to go where it leads. Because, as you know, Jerry, leadership, for instance, is something that is very, very multifaceted and is not just one particular aspect. So, typically, when you talk about one aspect of leadership, others invariably come up. And
Mhm,
so right now, I'm actually starting a new podcast, which is
mhm,
called the Catalyst Conversations.
mhm,
And I will have a different guest on every episode. So it's something that is just starting out. If I have anybody who is a leader, who is
mhm,
somebody who supports leaders, like a leadership coach, or somebody who's just interested in general in the topic, I invite them to maybe listen in, or of course consider to be on the show. It would be
mhm,
lovely.
mhm. Yes, I understand. It's a great project. Let's continue with my next question. I would like to little bit get to know you more. So I have prepared one question about your past experience in your life. And tell me, what are you proud of to have achieved, or maybe grateful even for, or even some funny moments from your job? Because I know that you work for the as a coach in Luxembourg for a teams and company and life coach, right? Overall, what would be some? Can you reveal some things from your past which are interesting from your story?
Yes, I think that what might be interesting is just that it was not a very typical linear progression. I actually started out studying engineering in France, and I met my now husband there. He was an exchange student who had came over from America, and so guess what? When he went back after his exchange year was finished, I joined him and continued my education in America. I actually studied engineering and mathematics. So I
Mhm.
am actually, by background, a techie. And that's also the first jobs that I had were in tech. I was, however, not really made to be a cubicle engineer. I am deep down truly a people person. And so, what does an engineer do? The next best thing is to go into consulting engineering, which I
Mhm.
did. So, I left big corporations. The last big company I worked for was Intel, and so I did leave Intel and joined a startup in their engineering teams. And that was a really nice job because this company was doing consulting, methodology consulting, and was also selling a software solution to help engineers do their job better as they were doing a hardware design verification.
Mhm.
And that was really, really nice. I really enjoyed interacting with various teams in, in their own companies like Cisco, Alcatel, Lucent,
Mhm.
Intel,
Mhm.
and so on. The
Mhm.
company, after I had been on their engineering team, actually asked me to go into the sales side of things, and that was even better
Mhm.
because it big multi-million dollar contracts like the ones that we were working on is not the decision of one person, even if ultimately it's maybe the CEO or the CFO who signs on the dotted line. It is something that requires many people to be involved on all layers of the organization, from the ground floor engineers all the way up to the executive suite. And so to build those relationships and really get to understand my client customers was really something that I enjoyed very much. And a lot of those incidentally happened to be in Eastern Canada at that moment. So I very, very often flew up from the Boston area into Canada. I had a corporate apartment up there. And it was really, really a job that I enjoyed. Unfortunately, at some point, I had some major health concerns, and I had to stop that job. And
Mhm.
I was really quite sick for a number of years. And I think one of the really big, realizations I had was about my own resilience, not to give up. Because as soon as I had moments where I was feeling a little bit physically better, I immediately went out to work. I immediately flexed my entrepreneurial muscle and got back to work. However, it took me all the way to 2018 until I got some new diagnosis and some new treatments that I really, really came back to life. And at that moment, it really was not any question in my mind that I would really dedicate myself to the art and craft of coaching. And I started really pursuing very big coaching certification, education, and really learned how to do the job well. And I guess ultimately that brought me here. I started my company in Luxembourg in 2022. And so that's how we ended up here at this point. We had moved back from the US, sorry, to Luxembourg in 2011.
Thank you for sharing, Claudia. We are talking with Claudia. My name is Jiří, and I would like to thank the people who are listening to us. We are talking about many interesting things, not only coaching and engineering and leadership, but also about the health and about traveling. So thank you for listening again. Claudia, by the way, have you any question for me or comment at this point? Because it's a partnership conversation and I would like to give you space to ask me as well.
Yeah, we have had the pleasure of being, exchanging before, and it has always been very interesting to me that we just adapt to life, and sometimes the curveballs that it throws at us. You also do different things, as far as I understand it. Do you also agree that taking action and being hopeful and putting energy into one aspect of your life in general raises your energy and makes you that much more committed and so on in other areas of your life?
Yes, I agree. I agree definitely. It's a nice, you said it very nicely. So I have no comment for that. I agree definitely. You can ask more.
Yeah, well, because I think that people might wonder, okay, so how can a person, for instance, who has had some health challenges, who's maybe not come up the ranks in terms of, big corporate careers and so on, actually be helpful? I think that sometimes it really does take this unbiased thing. It's not a bug; it's a feature. I think coming to things with a different mindset, an unbiased mindset, and maybe one that is not necessarily colored through previous experiences. Right? I do not bring my own assumptions in to an engagement. I do not bring my own conclusions that I came to into an engagement. It allows me to really remain open. I
Mm-hmm.
also think that, one might think, well, why should I even care that she studied mathematics way back in the day? Well,
Mm-hmm.
there too, I think that even though I do not recall many mathematical equations and things like that, and theories, right, the details of it, because I have been out of it for a number of years, nevertheless, it allowed me to hone my mathematical brain in terms of um, pattern recognition, in terms of really understanding systems and understanding cross products of potential, criteria that we apply
Mm-hmm.
to a system. So I actually think that it had an impact on the way that my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like I said earlier, I really am a people person and not, not your typical techie, if we go as far as stereotyping a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing. Now I would like to move to the present moment. My second question is concerning present because present moment is very important. So my question is, what projects are you working on at the moment? And I know, and I have followed you that you are an author of the book as well, isn't it?
Yes, I am just actually proofreading my second book. My first book that I published last year was about team coaching. And the tagline reads, Team coaching, what is it? And is it right for me and my team? As I was looking around the team coaching book lists and things like that of existing books, I realized that most of them are about teaching you how to be a team coach. But my book is more for the leaders and stakeholders that care about their teams to really learn about what team coaching is, its benefits, the engagements, and so on, but with the goal of helping them come to a decision whether or not they should bring in a professional team coach. So it's not necessarily to teach people how to be a team coach, but really to understand whether it would be in their best interest and their team's interest to hire a professional. And then, of course, how would I go about finding a team coach, and what should I watch out for as I make my selection? My second book that will probably be published at the latest in June 2024, which is next month. It is called The Reflective Leader, and it is about to hopefully invite leaders to start a self-reflection practice, to take the time to self-reflect on themselves and their leadership. So the book has, in a first part, just enough theory, just enough information to really create a good context in which to do the work. But the bulk of the book is actually a list of 150 prompts to invite leaders to reflect on. And these prompts cover all kinds of aspects related to leadership. And I even made it a conscious decision to not put them in any specific order, because leadership requires leaders to be all over the place and deal with very many different, quite fluid aspects of leadership. And I wanted the prompt selection to kind of drive that point home and let them hone this muscle of being able to reflect on many different things at one after the other if they so choose. So, but
Mhm.
otherwise, I am growing my business in terms of having clients that are professionals that can also come to me privately, or in a more organizational setting, entrepreneurs, leaders, and then of course as well teams.
Claudia, I have prepared some questions about leadership for today as well. I would like to now grab a water, please. Also, our audience, I would like to suggest 1 minute break, only 1 minute. Please wait for me. And for our listeners, also grab a water, because drinking is important. Walk around a little bit before we continue our great conversation. I'll be right back. Just a second. Claudia, thank you for staying with me. I'm back.
Yes, of course.
You too, perfect. So here I have a couple of interesting questions for you for your opinion. And my first question about the leadership is, if my goals are clear, then I can easily achieve them. Does this apply for leadership as well?
Yes, I mean, I would go about the easily. I mean, some goals obviously are very ambitious, and it might not necessarily be easy to achieve them. But unless you have clarity about your goals and they're well formed, and you have thought about how to achieve them and which milestones make sense based on the context that you're in and the criteria that you put in place, I think, yes, it's an absolutely fundamental thing to have, clarity, and then well thought out goals that make sense in your environment. Absolutely.
Would you also, now it's your turn to share from your book or from your experience one prompt for leadership? What would that be? Most important one according to you?
What the most important one? I mean, I don't know. I think I would probably start with the very, very first one. And that is, what is your definition of success? Meaning, when do you think that you are a successful leader? Which really comes back down to, what's your definition of leadership? And it permeates so much of what's happening. How do you show up? What are you after? What are the metrics that you look at? So essentially, what is success as a leader for you? That would probably, and it is incidentally in my book, the very first prompt of the 150. Yes.
I sometimes listen to the TED Talks. These are inspiring talks from Simon Sinek about great leaders inspire action. That one was interesting for me, which I listened recently. And I will definitely check also your book, if I may, because it sounds very interesting.
Thank you, Jerry.
So now is time for the final message. What would that be? If you would give some message to our audience, final takeaway message, what would you say?
I think that how you show up in life really depends on the concept you have about yourself. And if I can that also relate that to leaders, it's so many of the how and so many of the what questions that you just mentioned, Simon Sinek. I mean, he has a book out there that says start with why, and it's one of the core messages that he brings home. And I really believe that it holds true. And as a coach, of course, that is something that I work with people so much. You have to know what makes you tick and what strengths you bring to the table and ways that you can make the greatest impact, and not only in your job life, but also in your social circle, in your family, and so on. I really believe that this clarity is so important, and yet I believe that a lot of people have not really made conscious decisions about what makes them tick, not conscious decisions about what their values are, how they want to show up for leaders, how they want to lead, and so on, based on who they really are. So I think that I would probably, as an invitation, put it out there that people take some time to really become, clear and explore their inner selves, their assumptions, their expectations, their mindsets, and so on. And if it is a job that is a little bit challenging for themselves, then of course they can go and start working with a coach, because essentially that's where we start our job.
Thank you, Claudia, for being here with me. Our honored guest today was Claudia Cimenti. I hope I now pronounced well.
Perfect. Very well, Jerry.
And my name is Jiří Borch in the podcast with Jiří Borch. Thank you for being here, Claudia, and good luck.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.